Love, live, life. Life can be glorious and hideous. Stick your feet to the ground, but don't think you are counted out. Don't let the wind pull you and tear you apart. Let yourself live freely and love, and you'll be happy. No limits. Just keep on.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another Iron Will podcast with me, Shane Warner, and
John Chase.
So what this podcast is all about is we are trying to get stories from people that have been through a traumatic experience in their lives and came out a different person.
Yeah, they have all created an iron will. So what is an iron will? A burning determination that cannot be stopped or hindered by anything, willing to do anything to get a desired outcome, extremely resilient. So what we like to say is just keep punching.
Yeah. So sit back and relax, and we're going to start the show. And today we have Samantha Marshall on the podcast with us. And Samantha, I know she grew up with my sister-in-law's cousin. So it's kind of a confusing way, but
a cousin's friend of a friend.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna let Samantha kind of introduce herself and
share her story. And
yep.
Yeah.
So take it away, Samantha.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Interesting little connection there. My good friend I grew up with told me about you guys.
Yeah.
And got me listening to your podcast. And
I'm glad she did.
Yeah, me too. It really struck a nerve because I've gone through a lot of levels of looking for, I guess, not necessarily even a platform, but resources to even be able to talk about this experience. And there's always this kind of magic that kind of happens when you can talk to someone that has also experienced any kind of brain injury or TBI. I mean, nothing against anyone who hasn't, but there's just a lack of understanding.
It's just the amount of people that have suffered a brain injury. You don't come across them in your town, but with social media, it's made it so easy to connect with people like you.
Yeah, and I just commend you for doing what you're doing too, because it can end this level of isolation that can kind of be present in a healing process with this.
For sure.
So I was really grateful to find you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're glad you found us too, and I hope you keep listening and sharing your story when you get the chance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, great.
And so, do you want to go into your story, like how growing up in Colorado was, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm third generation Colorado.
Colorado is one of my, it's my favorite state. It's just
Mine
so
too.
beautiful. It's so beautiful, and it's so
and not just for the baseball.
Oh yeah,
Because he likes
I love the Rockies, but I go to Basalt all the time, and Leadville, and
it's so beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Leadville, and it's, the highest incorporated city in the United States. And so that's a whole experience growing up there. But I really loved growing up in Colorado and didn't realize how good I had it until I left at some point and realized oh man, I grew up not even in Leadville. I grew up 2 miles outside of it. So I was in the woods, climbing trees, just riding my bike, just a wild feral child out in the woods. And I'm really grateful for that, and getting to camp and hike and out on the mountains of the highest peaks possible. It's pretty amazing.
That's
great.
If you have never been hiking or in a high elevation, especially, it's just something something healing about it, or
for sure.
whatever.
So all you Texans listening, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Oh yeah. There's something about the altitude, and it actually plays a decent role in my story with this injury too. So that's interesting. Yeah, oops, I'm dropping all my stuff.
You're all good.
Yeah, so I, just really had a great childhood. I mean, of course, there was some hardships with it. I think life happens, family stuff happens, and I ended up getting really hurt by a lot of the situations that did happen to me. And also being pretty isolated in a small town, it kind of reflects into a lot of people turning to drinking and that sort of thing, which is what I did.
Yep.
And definitely went down not a great path.
Yeah,
as I got older. Yeah, I chose a hard road of, I guess I was really just running from my problems rather than figuring out how to resolve them.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think we all do a little bit of that. But I ran to a whiskey bottle and just that led to further making bad decisions and burning bridges and just kind of devastating my life in a way.
And were you able to keep a job at this time or?
Yeah. Okay. I that is one thing I've always held on to real firmly is just my work ethic is through the roof. And I've always just been really proud of being good at my jobs. Like if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to do it. I've always had that drive.
It's amazing to me how much that helps with a brain injury, that attitude,
the drive.
Yeah,
for sure.
And 100% of the people we've talked to with brain injury have had that exact same attitude.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just grateful I had it beforehand. I don't know what it would be like if you had to develop that through it.
Yeah.
That would be a challenge.
Well, I don't know. And so we haven't talked to anyone that has said that, but it will be interesting if we ever find someone. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, I don't know, I think we take our brains for granted until there is an injury and you lose parts of yourself you never thought were losable. Right. And it kind of just puts you into that overdrive of, I have to do this. I don't have a choice. I have to keep moving. So that's what it was very much for me like.
Yeah. And so you were growing up with a self-destructive attitude. And what next? Like, where did you get your brain injury?
So all of my life and the self-destructive patterns and everything kind of over a period of time culminated in a lot of little escapes I did. I worked to travel basically. I didn't know what my drive and ambition was. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I just worked to save money to go out of the country and travel. And I would end up taking those trips when things kind of culminated at a peak of destruction in my life. And then I just kind of run off and escape for a while. And in that pattern, I had learned to scuba dive.
Okay.
And I'd been on several trips. I'd been certified for several years. And I went on a trip to Mexico by myself just to go scuba dive and just lose myself in the ocean. Little did I know that I literally was going to do that.
Lose yourself.
Literally. I went down to Mexico and I was having a great time. I was diving every single day. And I think I was maybe burning the candle on both ends a little more than I should have been as far as what would have been more safe for diving.
Right.
And it was the last dive of my trip. I came up with a really bad headache, and that wasn't uncommon. I would have headaches from time to time. So I just didn't go on the second dive. And
can I ask a question? Is that if you go down too fast, come up too fast, the pressure, I mean, what causes the headaches?
The headaches can be, I mean, if you have a little bit of a sinus blockage, you're going to get a pressure change in your head and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it is, it's the difference of what depth you went to and what kind of pressure is added depending on what depth you go to.
So I've done like a hyperbaric chamber. And like, it's really important to like clear your ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you have like techniques like for doing that kind of thing?
Yeah. And the more you dive too, the easier that gets. You almost can just do it by wiggling your jaw just a certain way. But adding that, when you have the little bit of extra pressure of being underwater, it's a little easier as well. But if you don't get that cleared, you're also not going to go down any deeper because it hurts too bad. You'll end up bursting an eardrum, or you'll burst your sinuses, or so. I mean, you're not gonna mess that up. If it doesn't clear, you're not diving any deeper. Yeah. So yeah.
So you didn't go for a second one at that point.
Right. I just hung out on the boat and just really didn't feel very well. I felt nauseous, I remember. And then I went, after everything was over, I went to my hotel room, just not feeling very well. And then before I knew it, the day was gone and I was sitting on my bed with my entire right side of my body not working. It was just, completely limp, and I couldn't move it. I at least had come back to enough to realize that had happened, but I couldn't move anything, and I couldn't get up. I couldn't really call for help.
Yeah. That's super scary.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't scared is what's so strange about it. I think because of where the injury was, I didn't have that reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
I just was like, oh, I live like this now. Okay. I was laughing about it last night. I was kind of reviewing my notes, and it's like, I didn't have any worry about being on my own in another country.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't even a fear. I was just like, la, 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 this is fine. Okay.
And you would think you would be like freaking out, and
most people would freak out.
Yeah. And it wasn't anything I think special to me. I literally do think it's just where the brain injury happened. It just disabled that reactionary part of my brain. And then I have sense. Yeah. And then it was just the right side of my brain took over. And I just was, I don't know, I felt rather happy through all of this, which is strange. I didn't really, and I wandered around Mexico for go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say, and should you have been in a hospital? Or?
Oh yeah, I needed to go to the hyperbaric chamber right then.
Yeah.
I needed to be rushed to the hyperbaric chamber from the dive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how they get rid of, like, they call it the bends.
Yeah, so what I ended up actually having is, I'm not sure if it's still technically classified the bends. It was basically a gas embolism in my brain. So it's the same thing where I had too much nitrogen in my system and it all bubbled out and it just all shot into one area of my brain rather than into a larger area, which would be what's more normal with the bends.
Yeah.
So it was just like one direct solid injury, which basically gave me a stroke.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
And
so you kept going around with with those symptoms.
Yeah. How long before you looked for medical attention or whatever?
Well, I don't have a super clear memory of all of this. I'm kind of piecing it together from just like facts that I know afterwards. Like I know that this happened on October 31st, and I didn't get admitted to the hospital until the 3rd of November. And
your family and friends aren't there with you?
Yeah, I didn't have anybody with me. And there was a period of time, I don't know if it was a day and a half, 2 days, I wasn't able to figure out how to use a phone. I would pick the phone up, and I knew I needed help, but I didn't know who to call or what to ask for. And then I would pick up the phone and not know how to dial it. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I can send an email. And I was able to kind of walk. I was eventually able to get function back in my right side enough that I could kind of drag my leg. I don't know if I was walking very well. I think everyone in Mexico thought I was a drunk tourist. Because I was definitely slurring my words and all of that. And I, thought, oh, I can send an email out. And when I sat down to do that, I couldn't. It was as if the keyboard had